All right, good evening, everybody. This is a regular meeting of the Harper Woods School Board for the School District of the City of Harper Woods. Today's date is March 18th, 2014. It's about 7:10. We had some technical difficulties, so we got a late start. If everybody could please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry? You were feeling it.
I was.
Well, you said speak up.
I buried my uncle this afternoon, and he was a service member, so I was thinking about that.
Well,
Thank you for noticing.
Okay, we have 5 members present. Ms. Mahone and Ms. Williams are both ill and are not here this evening. We do have an agenda. We have a revised agenda, which has been placed at your seat. Do we have a motion to approve the revised agenda?
Motion.
Support?
Support.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the approving the revised agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Revised agenda is approved 5-0. And the first item on that would be the approval of the consent agenda. That consent agenda includes minutes from the meeting of February 25 and March the 4th of this year, the expenditure reports for the month of February, out-of-state travel, I believe it's day travel, but out-of-state,
It is just a day trip, yes, sir.
to the Toledo Art Museum for Ms. Pelletier, Christina Pelletier, and approximately 25 high school students and 2 additional adult supervisors. And we have recommendations for hire for 4 individuals. Mr. Robert Cardinal is varsity baseball coach at the high school. Kelby Petrus would be a Follow That Kid aide at Tyrone. Latoya Carter, a paraprofessional in the middle school. And Cedric Goins, a sub-bus driver for the district. Do any members wish to have any items removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Consent agenda is approved 5-0. Correspondence, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Keen.
Nothing that has not already been forwarded to the board.
Thank you. And that brings us to district activities. We'll start out with Beacon.
I'm doing Beacon as well as Tyrone.
Okay, Mrs. Vanderlyn.
Hi, these are the Beacon highlights. March's Reading Month has brought some celebrities to Beacon. WDIV weathercaster Brandon Rue, I don't know how to say his name, and 96.3 Blaine and Allison read to the kindergarten and first grade. Beacon was on the 6 a.m. news and the radio, and Brandon Rue wore his Beacon shirt to deliver the weather report, so yay for that. Thanks to Mr. Rabideau, Mrs. Dennis for reading to Beacon, the children, Mr. Dennis for reading to Beacon. Sorry.
You changed sexes, thank you.
Mr. Dennis. Children love Mr. Rabideau's bass fiddle. We are looking forward to Mr. Beatles and Mrs. Green's visit soon. Thanks to all for taking the time from their busy schedules to show the kids the importance of reading. Chuck E. Cheese will be at Beacon on Friday to promote the elementary fundraiser Friday night at Chuck E. Cheese on Gratiot. Please come out for fun and pizza to support Beacon and Tyrone. Wednesday, tomorrow at 6 p.m., the Harper Woods Library is sponsoring the Tutor Doctor. This literacy expert will give the parents crucial information on how to support their struggling readers. And teachers are continuing their training with strategic intervention solutions this week. Grade levels are taking an in-depth look at the New York Engaged models and using a blending document to break down each module for better understanding and instructional delivery. They will also be looking at performance tests and the SBAC test questions to get a better understanding of next year's test expectations. I should have read that first. I've forgotten from different work. Any questions?
Is that it for Beacon?
unless you have questions, that would be it for me. Okay, on to Tyrone. Tyrone is also participating in March's Reading Month. Again, thank you to Barnes & Noble. Every student, the books that they donated, we started off the month with every student being able to come down and pick a free book. So they were pretty excited about that. And also we had not enough for every student to get 2, so then we had our character rewards we do every month. So we drew out 25 names in each grade level, so 75 more children received a second book of their choice. So that worked out really great. We, every month, we do what's called Do, Drop Everything and Write. We do it 3 times a week. And that's a writing program that we're doing to continue beyond the writing they do in their English class. But for the month of March, we do Dare, Drop Everything and Read. And so instead of doing the extra writing, they're doing the extra reading for the month of March with the book that they received on the first day of March. We have a variety of activities we participated in. Today was Read a T-shirt Day. We had Poetry Day, which we found some really cool interactive websites. Kids were able to take turns reading and playing some of the things. And this Friday we have Drop Everything and Read. Children walk around with their books in their hands, and several times during the day the bell rings, and wherever they're at, they drop. Everyone in the school drops, everybody reads, and then 20 minutes later, the bell rings again and they go on to their normal activity. And we have coming up Dr. Seuss Day, and on the very last day of March, we have Security Day, where students bring in a variety of reading materials. They bring in their comfortable clothes, their pillows, their sleeping bags, and they spend either the entire morning or the entire afternoon reading. Just depends on what the grade levels decide. This month's PBIS, the Positive Behavior Incentive Program we have, is the area we're concentrating on is lunchroom rules as well as recess rules. At the end of the month, students who have qualified for the PBIS reward, we have, thank you Mrs. Whitelow, she provided a storyteller for us. So they are coming in for those students who will qualify, and that will be on, I believe it was March 28th. We started a new what's called Tier 2 intervention based on the data we collected from our PBIS, and it's called Check-in and Check-out. These are for students who, even with the monthly rewards and the character coupons and all of the things that we're doing to encourage positive behavior, are still struggling. So now between Mr. Clement and myself, they start in the morning, they check in with one of us, they have a clipboard they take around so that the teachers can help them monitor their progress and how they're doing throughout the day. They check out at the end of the day with either myself or Mr. Clement, depending on who they were assigned to. If they received a certain percentage of points, they earn fake money, and then every 2 weeks they get to come in and shop. You know, they weren't thrilled about having to carry the clipboard, but they shopped their first time, and so now they're a little more enthusiastic. And it goes home nightly, and the parents sign it, and when they bring it back, they also receive what's called character cash for that. So that's our Tier 2, and hopefully we've seen some students making some behavior changes. If students after a significant time on Tier 2 still are struggling, we'll move what's called the Tier 3. So that's all part of that PBIS grant that we received through Wayne County RESA. I want to congratulate Tyrone Elementary. We are now a green school and our green club. Thank you, Mrs. Willis and Mrs. Smith, who are leading that way. There was a variety of things they had to do in order to qualify and become a green school. And some of the cool things we did, even within the science, they had to do a science experiment where that was on conservation of water, and there was water everywhere. I don't know how much we really conserved. But after they did the experiment and they were measuring, you know, how much water you use when you turn the tab off, how much compared to, you know, all kinds of different ways. And then they actually made a video of it, the green team did, and Mr. Hopkins helped them with that. And then we put it out to the whole school. We've got recycling going. We brought in animal program, and they talked about endangered animals. There was all sorts of things. We brought in DTE, who came in and met with every grade level, and every child received their own DTE kit, which is really a cool thing. For those of you who have seen it, it's got all kinds of ways to help you conserve energy. And every child that participated in that DTE assembly received one of those kits. So it was really exciting. So yep, we are now a green school. So congratulations. Update for those of you who don't know, Project Healthy Schools is something that we've been partnership with Beaumont Hospital, and we are on the 3rd year of that. They work specifically with our 6th graders, but they do come in and do some extra activities with 4th and 5th. So when your child's in 6th grade, they'll actually have believe it's 8 or 10 weeks long, where people from Beaumont come in and help teach lessons on health and how to be, have a healthier lifestyle. Well, we did do a 5th grade activity called Tar Wars, real interesting, where they come in and they show you lungs that are healthy, and they have these tubes and they blow them up and the lungs are pink and they expand, and then they show you these other lungs which are like horrible. And so again, it's a good visualization of why to take good care of your lungs. And right now we have a school-wide incentive, which is part of the Project Healthy, but it's for the entire school. We're encouraging students to eat one helping of fruit and one helping of vegetable during lunch. We have monitors that go around and check off if you did. I found it hysterically funny because because at the end, if they're able to do a certain percentage, they get a reward. So kids, we had carrots and they were plugging their nose and they were eating them. And I thought, well, at least they're eating them, right? So it was a good way to introduce. And then some of the kids were like, wow, these aren't that bad. So again, it's part of the Project Healthy School, and it's an incentive we have going school-wide. We did our Tyrone fundraiser through our parents organization, our Jump In. It was a great success. We raised just under $2,700. Yeah, so that was actually more than we made last year with Tin Can Auction, and it was a one-day event. I have 31 students who qualified this Friday for the movie. We just voted. They voted for Frozen. They get to bring in their pajamas and their blankets, and they get to sit in the afternoon, and they get to miss class, which is very exciting for them, and watch the movie. We're popping popcorn, and so in order to qualify for that, they had to find $50 worth of sponsors. So it really was a great program, and we'll keep it up for next year. And then the big news for parents is we are doing conferences online. You will be scheduling your conferences online. We are trying something new. Mr. Hopkins did it last year. He's coming in tomorrow to work with the staff to get it all set up. The paper format, we have so many children that just weren't turning it in, they weren't taking it home. So we are trying something different, and we're really going to do phone dollars and really publicize it. And so it kind of takes that middleman, which is the child, out of the link. The parents go directly to the teacher's weaving page and will sign up for the conference that they choose in the time slot that works for them. And so first come, first serve. I'll let you know how it goes. Questions?
You said you're doing conferences online. Do you
Well,
mean you're doing
the sign-up of
the
conferences.
schedule?
Scheduling of conferences will be no longer taking home a piece of paper where you pick 3 of your favorite spots, and then the teacher decides which one, and the child has to bring it forth, and then the parent never knows.
But the conferences will still be...
Conferences are still face-to-face. Yes, good question. But the scheduling of it, parents will have to go to the teacher's weekly pages and sign up.
And if they have any difficulty, can they come into the school?
Yep.
And do that?
Yep, when we do our phone dialer, we've got a couple people that are going to be available even in the evening to come to the computer lab to show them how to sign up.
And when are the conferences?
April 10th and 11th, I believe.
Your Barnes and Noble books, as the kids read books, is there any plan to have them, like, return them or trade them off for another one, or?
Haven't thought of that, but we
The
used to.
recycled books, you read a book
Right.
and it's still a perfectly good book.
We used to have something, and maybe at the end of March, maybe that's a good idea to end, maybe or right in the beginning of April. We used to, in March's reading month, where kids could bring in their own books. They'd bring in 3 or 4, or however many books, and the grade level kids would get together in the gym and they would swap books, a trade for a trade, to get new reading materials. And, we dropped it because kids weren't bringing in books, but now that everyone has one, that would be a good idea to say, hey, if you
Yeah, for
finish
those
that.
they just hand one
Yeah.
in and pick another one out
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah. You might even think about speaking with some of the middle school staff. They've just, in the last couple of weeks, launched kind of an informal, high-interest, high-engagement reading library. The books are just available in the hall. Kids grab a book, take it home, read it, enjoy it, and then the plan is that they bring it back, and as Mr. King is indicating, another student gets a chance to
Right.
enjoy the book.
And it would be good to start April, because, we want children thinking you just don't read in March. So
Or we
maybe
could
with a
take a
fresh
room
book.
and put bookshelves in it,
Yeah.
have somebody sit in there and check them in. Oh, no,
No, it's called a library. We do have that. Our media center is open from 6 to 8, and Mrs. Spears, it's kind of funny, we do it the old-fashioned way because we could not get the scanner, the software, we couldn't get it working. So I know it sounds silly, but we just put those, those old-fashioned book things with the card in it, and when the child wants the book, the title's written on top, they take it out and they write their name.
Yeah, I was thinking something real
Cards.
simple, you know, here's a
Very
book, what do
easy,
you do with
yeah.
a book, you know?
But doing a book swap wouldn't be a bad idea to finish up, you know, and start April, so they have a new book. Yeah, thank you. Any other?
Yeah, I've got a question on that Barnes and Noble book thing. I think I heard you say, or somebody say a while back, that actually those were contributions from their customers.
Right. The customers, during the month of December, Barnes & Noble runs a program and they ask customers to buy new books to make a donation. And it was, you know, of course, the Harper Woods elementary schools, and customers bought them. Some of them have bookmarks in it, and the customers signed their name, enjoyed this book, and they'd sign their name. I mean,
Really?
it's got those, yeah, it really was cool.
Was this the Barnes and Noble over
Yep.
near St. John?
Right next door to St. John.
So it's our community really
Yep.
that's helping
And
us out.
that's what we had told the kids. I mean, really, these are presents from the community because they bought them so that you could have a book.
Maybe we should do some kind of big thank you card that they
We
could
did do
post, or did you?
that. We did send it over there. Our student council did it for us. And I did put it in the Herald. I wanted them to get recognition for what they had done.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Middle school and high school, Mrs. Norwood.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just want to report for the middle school, as everyone spoke about, March is National Reading Month, so I want to thank Mrs. Tyson for putting the little Pioneer Books, I call it bookstore, but the book cabinets and everything together. The students come in, it's on an honor system, they come in, grab the books, read them, and bring them back, so I just want to thank you for that. And as I mentioned a long time ago, our kids come in early in the morning, and they're always reading. So to have that, you know, out in the middle school, I just want to thank you, because it's a really good idea, so, and I like the idea you brought up about bringing the books and taking it back, so we need to get some more books, so thank you, Ms. Tyson. Also, the National Junior Honor Society is holding their national fundraiser, Penny for Patients, to benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So in the third hour, the students are collecting money, and they're so competitive. Whoever raises the most money, they're going to get a party from the Olive Garden. So our kids, they're really funny, so they're very competitive, and they're trying to go back and see who's going to raise the most money. Also, Mrs. Burns in the middle school, she did a pie day. So we had students bring in pies that their parents had baked, and she also brought in some pies, and I'm fasting, so I didn't get a chance to eat any, but it was a beautiful thing to see the kids talk about how they helped their parents bake pies, so it was really nice. Also, to 3 of our middle school students have been named local winners in the 45th Annual American Me Essay Contest. The 3 students that won were Catherine Jaminet, Taylor Smith, and Delario Hall. And this contest encourages Michigan middle school students to explore greatness and American and its people. So that's a big honor for our middle school kids. You know, I think they competed with 450 middle schools across the state. So to have our kids come in first, second, and third place, that's a big thing. So I wanted to make sure that parents see that. So also, middle school track program, I'm excited about that. I used to run track, and to have that program, I just want to thank Coach Henry for supporting that. Our kids need to get back active. They need to get healthy and stay healthy, so I'm excited about the spring season coming up. As we move over to the high school, I have a lot of my 11th grade students here right now. They were so prepared for the MME ACT test. I got here about 6:20. They were here at 6:30, 6:40. So that says how committed they were to taking the test. They were focused, they were confident, they were well prepared, and I just want to thank you all for a good job. They supported each other. When a student was running late, they called that student. So it's just they're committed to improving their education and just doing, you know, phenomenal things. So I just want to thank the parents, the students, and the staff for their support and our kids for the MME ACT because they did a really good job. Also, to our YouTube video for the ACT boot camp that we did, the writing boot camp is being shown all over the state of Michigan. I have several of my colleagues from former districts calling me saying that they've seen our video. So even in the SIG workshop meetings and at Wayne Risa. So they're saying we're doing some great things with technology here at Harper Woods. It's showcasing what we do every day for our kids. Support academics, excellence. Thank you, Mr. Vita Wilford, for being there. To see the superintendent there, you know, doing, you know, that break, it was just a good thing. So I just want to let you all know I can send you all the link to it, but it's a good video, and people are calling me about it. The Harper Woods Drama Club, if you're not doing anything tomorrow, everyone, Thursday night and Friday night from 6 to 8. City Year has sponsored our drama club, and they're going to present a play. It's Not You, It's Me. Our kids have been rehearsing almost every night. So if you're not doing anything, make sure that you come out and support your kids, our kids, Thursday and Friday night from 6 to 8.
That's not tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Thursday and Friday, not tomorrow, the 20th and the 21st. Also, I just wanted to talk about our boys basketball team under the tutelage of Harper Young. You did a good job with our boys. We have some of the best kids, and I say this all the time. We have some of the best kids in the city of Harper Woods. You all are leaders in this building. You take care of business, and I'm honored to be your principal. And to see you win your districts, it's just a good thing. So they're going to present, and I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of you, Coach. Thank you, Coach Henry. Anyone have any questions? I know I usually have a whole lot to say. I don't today, but I'm just excited for our kids, just academically, athletically. They're doing a good job.
As far as the MME participation, I understand that it was but for one student whose doctor would not let that student leave the hospital.
And he wanted to. He really wanted to. And actually, he's doing his makeup. He did it today, and he'll do it tomorrow and Wednesday. One kid. So that says something about the commitment of our
So our participation, when it's all said and done, will be 100%.
Yes. I mean, this is, it's a great thing. I mean, Mr. Beadle was going to talk about, me, but just the whole testing environment, as Mr. Rosser was pristine. Our kids were here, like I said, I got here early at 6:30 to see them here at 6:40. They were ready. And they weren't confident to the point where they were being arrogant. It's just that they were prepared. Taking those 4 ACT prep tests, they weren't scared. I have high expectations for our kids. And when they showed up and supported each other, it just made me think, babies, they're ready. And they were ready. So that's what I call them, my babies. I don't care if they're 6'5" like Ron, they're my babies. So I was excited. So, any other questions? I know I have a lot of energy, but I'm just excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I'll talk about y'all.
Okay, well, that brings us to item 8 on our agenda, which is student district recognition. And this time we're going to recognize our boys varsity basketball team who were district champions. I'm not sure who's going to lead us through this.
Well, I'm going to make some comments, but before I do, if I could ask Coach Harper Young and his captains to please take the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening,
How's
Coach.
everybody?
Very well. Thank you for being here, sir. We'll ask you to introduce your squad in just a couple of minutes, Coach, if you would, and student athletes, as you are introduced, if you would please stand so that the board can know better who you are and have a good understanding in terms of how it is that you have represented yourself in our district, particularly in recent weeks. A good coach plays a tough schedule. Gets his or her team ready for those end of season culminating tournaments. And certainly Tom Izzo, has a history of doing that with the Michigan State squad. And, we're all thinking about Mrs. Purnell and Mrs. Vanderlinden's Spartan squad as they enter into the tournament, Mr. Selburn's Hollowdale Wolverines as they enter the tournament, and here I am, I have to find myself saying good luck to Western Michigan, my wife's alma mater. I mean, that's tough. And I think that's what you did this year. Overall record, right around 500 as I understand it, but built a schedule and built a squad that was ready to have success in that end of the season tournament. To their student athletes, I tell you, I liked the style of play. And I really saw, as a former basketball coach, a great structure. Man, I saw those big fellas cleaning the boards, pivoting, hitting that outlet pass in the corner. Here comes the pass to the center. Coach is hollering, let's go from the bench, and we're going down the floor. But, an important part of that is, it's fun to play fast break basketball. The scores get a little higher, everybody gets a little bit, a few more 2s and 3s on the stat sheet, and, it all feels good. But you can't play fast break basketball if what you're doing is perpetually taking the basketball out of the net. And I saw a different level of defensive focus. I saw a different level of tenacity. I saw a different level of teamwork. I loved what I saw from the bench. full involvement, full engagement in the game, full support of the squad and your teammates. And when your chance came, you were ready to go in and play your role. I liked what I saw from our Harper Woods basketball squad. And you know what? I've always believed hard work pays off. I think you worked hard. I think you listened to your coach. I heard Coach say over the game, guys, slow down, you're getting overzealous. I said, man, overzealous in the coaching huddle. That's academic language, Coach. I loved it. I loved it. And so, Coach Young, I want to tell you first, thank you so much. Your leadership has no question positively impacted these young men. And to our student athletes, I'll say again, you represented us, and more importantly, you represented yourselves extremely well. Coach, introduce us to the squad, please.
Okay. First of all, again, thank you for having me, to the board, Ms. Norwood, Mr. Rosser, Ms. Green, everybody that's here. We appreciate the opportunity, and we're going to continue to try to make this an elite school as well as an elite basketball program. Thanks for the opportunity. Juwan Harper, captain. Nayland Johnson, Jr., as I called you just then. Sam Morris, Junior, Jalen, I'm sure everybody knows Ronald.
Been here a few times.
And John Smith, Carlos. Matt Greason has the trophy. And we have a couple guys that's not here today.
Yeah, I think Anthony's here.
I'm sorry, Anthony, came in a little late, so I'm about that. Right, and again, this is our varsity basketball team. We have some other guys that's not here today. These guys really did do a good job. We appreciate the hard work, and it's not over with yet. So, again, we appreciate the opportunity.
So if we could, when you win a district championship, Ronald, what is it that every member of the team gets?
No?
So that's called bring home the hardware, right? So that's the hardware that every member of the squad received, and so that's the hardware that you get to keep as your own individual keepsake. But there's a little something that the school gets to keep as well, correct?
Yes.
That's called bringing home the hardware, baby. I like it. I like it. Okay. Coach, I'm going to ask your student athletes before the board makes any comments as they might.
Okay.
I'm going to ask that if you will indulge me, I'd like to ask you and your squad to stay as well for the next two agenda items, if you would, please. Okay? Mr. Selber.
Do we have a place in a showcase for that?
I believe that we do. Mr. Henry, are you aware?
Yes, we would. Yes, we do. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Yes, we do.
It doesn't go in my office?
Would you like in the office a little bit?
I don't know if y'all get away from that.
You know, people might think I won it or something as they came in, you know.
Can I make one comment, please?
Please do.
Really quick, would you like it in the microphone? Well, I'm okay.
I think you're okay.
Okay, really quick, we challenged Coach Young, et cetera, simply because, again, we know we put academics first. So it gives me great pleasure to say that not only did Coach Young do an outstanding job, but all of our student athletes did a fantastic job as it relates to their academics. For example, Douglas Anderson had a 3.0, Jalen Brown 3.6117, Matthew Greason 2.0, Juwan Harper 3.7167, Nayland Johnson 3.6125, Samuel Morris 3.4433, Ronald Robertson 2.333, Dejan Smith 2.333, Carlos Strong 3.4046, Kwan Turner 2.7233, and more importantly, Mr. Walker Mitchell 2.4983. We want to make sure that our young athletes go to college, period. And we're not going to hold their hand, we're going to hold them accountable, and they recognize that academics is first. So they did a fantastic job.
Can they turn around for the camera? I mean, they're getting the back to their head. Yeah, wave to your moms. Yay!
Great suggestion. Okay. So again, guys, if you'll just indulge us for about 15 more minutes, I would personally appreciate it.
How many are seniors? Just one?
Good job, guys.
This team's coming back then.
Really nice. I hadn't realized that.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, that brings us to what you've been referring to, Mr. Peterwolf, which is a couple of presentations. First one is the MEP results. I know you're chomping at the bit on that one.
Well, have some news that I would like to have an opportunity to share. Yes, sir. We do apologize. We did have some technology challenges today. I don't know, Mr. Rabideau, will we need to punch a button to rotate it forward, or? All right. So, Mr. Selbert, if you could maybe move a couple chairs and watch your eyes there just for a moment. Okay, so to our student athletes who are here, I asked you to stay because I thought that it was kind of a teachable moment, if you will. And so, the Board of Education has responsibility for leading the district. They hire me, the teaching staff, the principals, everybody that you have an opportunity to work with based upon their expectation that we are going to serve the students of Harper Woods well. And, when I met with Board President Mr. Selbert last week, one of the things that, he reminded me of is that most times when people are looking for where it is that they're going to reside, where it is that they're going to purchase their family home, where they're going to look to raise their family, they often look to the performance of the schools as a key indicator in terms of the quality of that community and whether that's the right place for them to decide to make that investment in terms of raising their family. And I think that's why many of your families moved here to Harper Woods. There's an expectation here in this district that we're going to serve our students better. We're committed to that, and I wanted you to kind of sort of see some data so that you can kind of start to understand how you look at school districts and make some of those decisions so that when you're buying a home, you can have a good sense of some of the things that, that you may want to look like, or excuse me, that you may want to look at. That's a very proud moment for our school district. It's right there on the screen. I put it in quotation marks. I should have cited the C&G Advertiser Time and given them a credit, if you will, for this piece of information. What a great headline for any school district to have. MEP scores skyrocket. That's a beautiful thing, and it's the result of a lot of hard work. And so, since we just recognized the sports team, I kind of want to draw a sports analogy, and I'll use maybe football as the example. So we've been working toward improving our performance for a number of years. And, we've seen some improvement as we've gone along. And even though, we're going to celebrate some improvement tonight, certainly we haven't won the Super Bowl. But for the first time, we have performed like a district that may have some championship-like qualities. And so when you think about that analogy, then you kind of ask the question, well, who's the team? The team starts first with the students. And the students, of course, are supported by their families who, like the board, expect the school system to serve them well. The students and their families then are supported by our teachers in our classrooms. Our teachers have worked hard. Our teachers continue to work hard to generate the types of results that we're starting to see. Our teachers are supported by our building-based administrators, our principals and our assistant principals, and our building-based administrators are supported by our central office staff, individuals like Mr. Rabideau, and by our Board of Education. So multifaceted structure that enables a team to perform at a high level. And so, I'm the mouthpiece, if you will, of this celebration tonight, but it's a team win with many individuals making important contributions to what it is that has occurred. So Mr. Rabideau, if we could take a look at our first piece of data. And we'll kind of get our feet underneath ourselves here because all of the data is orientated in the same way. And so what it is that we do first is we kind of go across. And so what this is telling us is that in third grade reading, 53% of our third graders were proficient in the fall of 2012.
But with our just recently released outcomes, that 53% has spiked to 71% of our third graders being proficient in reading. That's a gain of 18%. And so you can continue to go across those lines, and you can see nothing but positive numbers there, and all of those numbers significantly positive. The other thing that I really like that may even be more significant is this column here called cohorts. That's tracking student achievement data based upon the graduating class. We're going to be graduating the class of 2014 in June, and obviously 2015 in subsequent years and so forth. So we got some really great cohort data. So cohorts go diagonally. The third graders in 2012 are fourth graders in 2013. And so that cohort says +4. And similarly, those 39% of the students who were proficient in the fall of 2012 as fourth graders, 57% of them as fifth graders, that's where that +18 comes from. Yeah, we got one negative number up in there, but we got 18s and 22s overall. Our cohort data rose cumulatively by 46 points. That's really good data. And so what we're celebrating tonight is the significant improvement in our performance. But that celebration is still somewhat tempered, because while we have significantly improved and while we have definitely closed the achievement gap, we're not there yet. The goal isn't to be, quote, playoff ready. The goal is to win a championship. That means that you're a district of excellence that has results that are well above state averages. So as we take a look at the next slide, we begin to ask that question. Well, how is it that Harper Woods is comparing to what it is that's going on elsewhere in the state? And so, when you add up our reading totals, which you just saw on the previous sheet, in 2012, our total was 209, while the state total was 401. We were 72% of the state average. This year, we rose to 360, so going across, we improved by 71 points cumulatively, while the state rose from 401 to 408, they rose by 7. We closed the gap by 64 points. And as a result, we are now at 88% of the state average. Average isn't our goal. Average is a way station on the way toward excellence. But what I'm excited about is if you recognize that we closed that gap by 16%, and if we're at 88% right now, that means if we were to replicate this performance again and close that gap by another 16%, we wouldn't be at average, we'd be above average. Let's look at the next content area. Data orientated, all in exactly the same way. So again, we're going across. We're seeing a 20% increase in our performance. We're looking at cohorts from 27 to 34. We're seeing that's where that 7% came from. And we're seeing that overall, our performance increased here by 57 points in the cumulative. Taking a look at the next slide, we again see that comparison, and we see that last year we were at 51% of the state average. We see that we went from 126 to 182. We went up 56 points. Meanwhile, the state actually fell back in this particular content area. They lost 1. Cumulatively, therefore, we closed that gap by 57 points. What's the distance from 56 to -1 on the number line? 57 points. And so again, whereas last year we were at only half of state average, we're now at 3/4 of state average. So again, I say, if we went from half to 3/4 and we replicated that level of closing the gap again, we would be at state averages, a way station on the way to excellence. Taking a look at mathematics, taking a look at writing, our next content area, I love it. We went from 11% to 42%. Our proficiency level in writing almost quadrupled. Not quite as big of a gain in 7th grade writing, but a gain nonetheless.
You can see where that 31 came from. You can see 34 overall. We look at the next slide, orientated as previously. You can see that we went up in writing total 34 points, while the state went up 4. Once again, we have significantly closed the achievement gap. And if we gain 31%, and if we were to replicate that again, we would be well above state averages.
I have questions.
Yes, sir.
You only had 2 grades there for writing, where we had scores.
Correct.
And the reason is?
Because those are the only 2 grades in which we test. And so good question, Mr. Selburn, and as well, you don't see that cohort data here because we don't have the ability in writing to follow students from one grade to the next. Reading and math are the only 2 content areas where we have that capability. Okay. Next slide, Mr. Aldo, please. So social studies, by now we've got our feet underneath us. We're kind of oriented in terms of how it is that the data is presented. We did have a step backwards here, but nonetheless, overall, we still did close the gap with the state, and you'll see that reflected in the next slide, where previously we had only 32% of the state average. We closed that gap, we're to 56%, we picked up 24. Again, we've still got a lot of work to do, but our performance in this content area as well is significantly increased. So let's see, we're up tremendously in reading. Great gains in math. Significant gains in writing, and I'll call social studies highly significant incremental progress. So far, we're having a really good time. Well, we do still have work to do. And so as we turn our attention to science, here our data obviously is not nearly as positive. We went down in both of the grade areas where these tests were administered. Our proficiency levels here are very low. As we look at the next slide, we see that overall proficiencies in science are still quite low, but let's face it, folks, if we've got 5% of our kids proficient and the state's got 37%, we are not competitive in the science content area. It is clearly a content area where we have significant work yet to do. And that's what it is that the Board of Education employs and expects the staff of Harperwood Schools to do, to change that data and to have it begin to align more with the successes that we're having in the other 4 content areas. Looking at all of this then in summary, we see that Harperwood Schools in total, adding up all of that data that you just saw, previously we're at 499, now we are at 661. Cumulatively, we increased by 162 points, whereas the state increased by 11. We closed the gap by 151 points out of those 18 tests across the grades in content areas that were evaluated. And you can see that a year ago we were at 60% of the state average. We are now at 78% of the state average. If we were to add that 18 again, I think we'd be sitting at 96% of the state average. We would be on our way. We'd be in the playoffs and trying to set our sights on that Super Bowl type level of performance. And so overall, there is no question but that our MEP results were very, very solid. These are the types of improvements that the Board of Education has been expecting and in fact demanding. And I will tell you, as superintendent here, I'm really excited about the work that our students did, the support their families offered, the hard work that our teachers did in our classrooms, the leadership that our principals provided, the support that the Board of Education provided. I tell you, it is pretty exciting to come to work and find in your office the local newspaper with a headline that says, as we go to the last slide, MEP scores skyrocket in Harperwood Schools. And so that's a New England Patriot. That's Gronkowski celebrating a touchdown in the end zone. They too are trying to get back to the Super Bowl, and so are we. Questions?
What have we been focusing on as far as the SIG grant, the subjects that we have been focusing on? in the past 3 years?
Yeah, in terms of the SIG grant, clearly the, the double dip emphasis, the instructional support is in the areas of reading, English language arts and mathematics. Reading is the fundamental skill that will enable higher levels of performance in all content areas, and the other would be mathematics.
And so what is your theory on the science, the loss on science?
Mrs. Quaker, honestly, I don't quote have a theory in terms of the loss on science. I would just answer your question this way. We had a real crisis in mathematics across the district a couple of years ago. We've worked real hard on that. You have made investments. For example, you augmented staffing at Tyrone Elementary in support of math and frankly science as well. We're seeing it pay dividends in math, but we're not yet seeing it pay dividends in science. I tell you where I am, we're going to throw our science stuff out and we're going to start over. Those science scores, they are embarrassing. They are unacceptable to you, and we understand they're unacceptable to this community. That we've made investments in significant changes in math. We're going to be doing the same thing in science. We're going to start over.
And just last question. Under the SIG grant, that specifically applied to high school.
Correct.
But can you just remind us how that has trickled down as well through Tyrone and Beacon?
More through our partnership with the United Way and IRRE than directly through the SIG grant. But one of the things that Mrs. Ribicki is certainly supporting in her role as our school improvement facilitator is that concept of now mastery-based learning, the I can statements, the development of the curriculum. There's no question that we have taken best practices that we have adopted and implemented at the high school in particular, and have carried that and have replicated those approaches in the middle schools and the elementaries as well. No question that that approach is something that now is operational K-12.
And so on Wednesday mornings when the kids get to sleep in for a couple hours, what are our teachers doing? So
we have a wheel, and so we have 4 points of emphasis. And so on one of those weeks, and so part of the reason that wheel is designed is so that our staff then can circulate throughout the buildings and offer the needed and necessary support. So, Mr. Rabideau, for example, is leading the curriculum work in the district. So 1 week he's at Beacon, another week he's at Tyrone, middle school, high school, and so forth. So that's one of the 4. Another is technology support. So those technology integration staff persons that you have authorized and have staffed, they're going out providing in-services and support to our teachers in that regard. The third component of that is that we're focusing on data. We're doing a much better job of generating localized data so we know better where it is that our students are and are not being successful, but you have to spend time looking at the data to be able to identify those areas of focus and the action steps that then follow. And then the fourth of those are those other kind of bureaucratic type processes that have to be accomplished: school improvement plans, preparing for our upcoming advanced ed district accreditation visit, and those types of things.
How long, Mr. Beerwolf, how long ago was it that we revamped our math curriculum, especially at the elementaries?
So that's been an ongoing process over the last 3 years. So again, this is the 3rd year that we've had some of that additional staffing in place, the 3rd year that we've had double dips in place. But what we had seen through the first couple of years was progress, but more incremental progress than the significant spikes that we had seen this year. And so, yes, we have revised the curriculum in anticipation of the Common Core. Do I think that played a factor in our significant gains this year? I do, but I would put all of those things as contributing factors to our gains and the work that we've done really over the last 3 years.
Don't we have a fairly new textbook system?
We do.
I'm going to challenge that we look at and I know you've already started to look at science, I know you brought together your team, but I'm going to challenge you to be thinking about doing the same thing in science that we've done in math, where we just kind of took a new, fresh look
Yep,
and revamped.
I agree, and that is our intent. Our science scores are embarrassing, unacceptable. That they're going to have to get better, or we're going to have to make some other types of changes.
And I have another challenge for you,
Yes, sir?
the administrators, the teachers, and the students. And that's to achieve that replication that you kept referring to in those previous slides.
Yep, average isn't our goal, but it's our next destination. And then we'll use that as, to go back to the skyrocketing thing, a launching pad to even higher levels of achievement.
If you achieve that replication that you were referring to, you will be well on your way. We will be on our way.
It is exciting, and I'm going to suggest to you, I believe we can do it.
Is there any way that the science score, the MEP science score correlates at all to the current grades or grade levels to see if maybe there's some type of relationship there, or is it just totally different?
Are you talking about things like the passing and failure rate, Mrs. Purnell?
Yes, in science.
Yeah, and so still trying to better understand, some of those underlying causes. Obviously, we don't have such a low percentage of our students being successful within the academic content within our courses. So frankly, there has to be a misalignment issue. Whether it's we're not teaching the right material at the right time, or that we're not teaching it with the necessary level of rigor. But we've got to find out the answers to those questions and obviously accelerate the rate in which we're making the needed necessary adjustments.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Do you know when the parents will actually get the MEP scores?
And so I know that, I haven't received my children's MEP scores either. Our elementaries are planning to distribute them during conferences, as you heard Mrs. Vanderlinden reference. Those, I think, are scheduled for April 11th. I did forward your question to Mrs. Norwood and Mr. Rabideau, but I just hadn't heard back yet.
I think when you're on your way down here, we're gonna mail them out tomorrow.
Okay, so the reports have just gotten here, and they're on their way. Okay, so parents are going to be seeing some better newses, or some better newses. Parents are going to be seeing some better news, and I'm hoping that maybe some of those MEP results end up in that most exalted place within many of our family homes, the front of the refrigerator.
Well, I think we need to say congratulations to every student in Harperwood Schools for doing the extra mile and getting a headline like we now have.
Well, again, Mrs. Benil, a lot of factors. Our investments in summer school programs, our extended day, and again, the hard work of our teachers. It's pretty exciting.
Okay, that brings us to the next item on the agenda.
One more, guys.
Which is the 9.2 African American Young Men of Promise Initiative. You want to introduce that, Mr. Biederwald?
Yep, I will, as Mr. Rabideau is making some technological changes. So I'm going to speak directly to the basketball team for a couple moments, if I might. So, men, I asked you to stay for a specific reason. The heading of the next agenda item is entitled the African American Young Men of Promise Initiative. And I'm going to tell you, as I look at you, I see African American young men of promise. And so, I just spent some time trying to kind of have a teachable moment and kind of show you a little bit about how you think about real estate and how it is that you might look at some of the data that will begin to define for you how it is that the school system is performing as you think about purchasing your family homes. But notice I use that phrase, family homes. And you got to be a family first if it's going to be a family home.
And I'm not afraid to say it, I lead from the front. We need more African American family homes. We need African American young men of promise like you to become men who are heads in partnership with their wives of family homes. We just talked about, a lot of significant data, and it's pretty exciting data. But the fact of the matter is that there is still a significant achievement gap, particularly among the achievement of African American men. This particular initiative was launched directly by State Superintendent of Schools Mike Flanagan because he too sees the need for young men like you to continue to cultivate your leadership. So just as Mr. Selburn challenges me, I'm going to challenge you. Because I loved the fact, Mr. Henry, that you talked about these young men as student athletes and that you cited their GPAs and so on and so forth. But I heard a lot of 2.2s and I heard 3.2s. I didn't hear 3.8s and 3.9s and 3.5s. And so just as the school board challenges me and says, okay, you know what, that's pretty exciting, that is successful and we accolade that. Okay, now that we've done that, are you ready to take the next step? Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Not only on the basketball floor, but in the classroom and in your leadership as African American men within your community and within your homes. It's a beautiful thing. I'm first generation college. It's a generational difference maker. How many of your parents have a 2- or 4-year college degree? Okay? Absolutely. And so that's what we're talking about. So your parents are absolutely expecting you to go to college. Because that's that generational difference maker. When your parents went to college, they expect you to. But somewhere, for those of you whose parents weren't able to realize that opportunity, somebody's got to be that generational difference maker. And so I ask the question, why not you? And just as I said to Mr. Selburn, I think that we can do it. I'm going to tell you that you are African American young men of promise, and you can be the one who makes a generational difference for yourself and for your family. And I think you can do it, just as I responded to Mr. Selburn, that I think we can continue to improve our performance here at Harper Woods. So we're about that in a variety of ways. Mrs. Quaker has talked about our SIG grant. We've celebrated our student achievement, but here's what we know. If we don't do things differently, back to the science conversation, there really isn't much reason to expect better results. And so part of our approach to doing it differently is to partner with the Michigan Department of Education and to participate in the African American Young Men of Promise initiative. To tell us more about that from our middle school, Mrs. June Tyson and Mr. Heath Filber. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just a quick overview. Last June, I received an invitation from the state of Michigan. State Superintendent was pulling together a group of about 300 business leaders, education leaders, and to launch what became a very important project across our state and it's across our country as well, as Mr. Biederwolf has mentioned, that there's a significant achievement gap, and particularly with our African American young men. And so when I participated in that in June, I heard that there was this pilot project that they were going to be launching and that they were going to select a number of schools across the state of Michigan. And so I said, let me try and tentatively throw our name in the hat as Harper Woods. And then I dashed on back, talked to Mr. Biederwolf about it. He said, bring it to the middle school staff, see what they had to say. And our teachers are always willing to jump in and help if there is, especially if we can partner with an organization like the Michigan Department of Education who are going to be leading this initiative. And so we sent in an application. They selected us as, again, one of 20 schools across the state of Michigan to begin to pilot this project. And what you see here in this PowerPoint, we've been, Mr. Filber and I, went to a training in August, as did Mr. Rosser and Ms. Norwood, to begin to launch the program here in Harper Woods, again with these other schools. And we've been participating in training along with Mrs. Burns. So the three of us have been spearheading it in the middle school. And when we've been doing monthly training meetings with our staff, we're going to talk about some of the projects that have been pushed into the classroom. And we've had site visits by leaders from the state of Michigan. And they asked us last month, would we go ahead, please, and be one of 3 exemplars that presented for the state of Michigan. So that was a very proud moment for Harper Woods to be able to be asked. And Mr. Biederwolf came to that and he said, whatever you're presenting here, would you please bring it back with you? So this is what we did present to leaders from across the state and to the other districts that have been involved in this. So we'll go ahead to the first slide. We were asked to select 2 particular focuses in what we were going to be doing. And so academic vocabulary is very important. There's a lot of research that talks about how inhibiting it is if you are a reader who has a 2nd grade reading knowledge as opposed to a 12th grade reading knowledge. And verbal use of language. And so we've been doing a number of initiatives, and one of them is putting our academic vocabulary in common spaces. We have some boards in our hallway where we're trying to help kids expand their vocabulary, but in ways that connect with them. And so this was, instead of saying, come on, go faster, we say, don't dawdle, don't meander, move purposefully. So those words were used in our classrooms, but also in our common spaces. We also talked about, oh, come on, quiet down, let's quiet our voices instead. No raucous outbursts, modulate your voices. And so you could hear kids as they're walking past these, what? What? And we would talk about them, and they're great conversation starters. So that is one way that we've been able to, there's one more slide of that as well. You see our kids like to showcase a little bit. We got a little drama, I love it. Instead of saying, you're so irritating, it's substitute, you're aggravating and you're annoying. And so again, a lot of our students have been giving us suggestions about what are some of the phrases that we can upgrade to higher level vocabulary. But that's not all that we're doing, and Mr. Filbert's going to talk about some of the other portions of our vocabulary initiative.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Good evening.
Excellent. One of the things that we've started to incorporate in our classrooms, and we've been rotating this kind of on a monthly basis so that all of the teachers and all the students get an opportunity to see us as teachers go ahead and model it, is these Word of the Day booklets that we've been working. And all the students in the 7th and the 8th grade each got their own notebook. And every day we go ahead and we write about a word of the day. Word might be something, like purposefully, one of the words that we had up on the board. And then they'll go ahead and use it as an example, and we'll go ahead and talk about it. And we might go ahead and talk about how we might use it in our everyday world and how we might use it, out when we're talking with our friends and things like that. This is now our 3rd month working with these Word of the Day catalogs. Mrs. Tyson got to work with it. I got to work with it. Now I believe it's in our math classrooms. So it's not just an English language arts thing. It's something that we're going to go ahead and incorporate into everything. And then, of course, the challenge is always to use our do-nows to sort of tie in with the lesson. So to go ahead and find a way to use this as a do-now to tie it into our lesson so that the students can go ahead and use that vocabulary to purposely move from those Tier 1 words to the Tier 2 words, the things that we're trying to do throughout our academic vocabulary instruction. We also go ahead and try to, celebrate the times that we're doing the good things. And so these are some of the examples that we have. Some good news postcards. We spend a lot of our Wednesday mornings, we'll take 10-15 minutes and we'll go ahead and we'll select 3 or 4 kids, each of our teachers, and we'll go ahead and write some good news postcards and send them home so the parents can have some positive feedback from the school. The champion ticket, which is part of the PBS program that we work in the middle school. Again, we see somebody doing good, we give them a ticket, they can go ahead and win a prize, a school supply kind of prize, pens, pencils, notebooks, anything like that. Seems to be an epidemic sometimes of not having enough pens or pencils around, so it's always good to be able to give a few away so that the kids can go ahead and do that. But again, try to get them excited and involved in doing the actual work that we're trying. We do a lot of PD. That wheel that Mr. Biederwolf talked about, we get once a month that we get to go ahead and do this African Young Men of Promise. And really, it's, here's an example where we're talking about some of the different things that we want to go ahead and incorporate in our classrooms and really share our experiences. It is a trial and error, it is a pilot program, so what are some of the things that worked, what are some of the things that didn't work, and let's go ahead and talk about how we can be successful bringing it into our classroom. No classroom's an island, we can all sort of bring it all together and make things a whole lot better. And one of the examples that we have, the next slide, is these stickers that all of the teachers have been getting. We break down a few phrases every month. These come from Dr. Green. These come from Dr. Green, who actually shares with us from a really dynamic professor from Michigan State University, my alma mater as well. So, got to bring that up. But Dr. Ransaw, who's really a dynamic guy when he gets in front of us and gets us talking, it really gets us excited about it. Talking about some of the things that effective teachers do. So all of us as teachers, we've made these stickers and we put them someplace where we're going to be, whether we're at a podium while we're teaching or we're standing somewhere else. And we think about some of the things that we want to do to become an effective teacher. And again, some of the examples up there, go ahead and maintain an overall atmosphere of encouragement, get to know the parents and guardians, maintain orderly environments. Just basic things that we can do, little tiny things that we can do that have been proven to go ahead and impact performance, impact kids wanting to be in your classroom, wanting to work in your classroom, make things better so that, we can see our scores improve. And that's really the bottom line behind all of this. So we've been working with our teachers. This has been our third month working with these stickers. So we've had about 12 of these strategies that we've used. And we share every month about our successes, some of our not so great moments with them, and talk about what we can do to go ahead and make it better as we continue to build on, the things that we've been learning ourselves as we go along.
I think there's one more.
One more? Oh.
That's the same thing.
Same thing.
What we're doing is, it's a little reminder. How many of you use Post-it notes that you stick someplace as a reminder to keep you stay positive or remember to whatever your goals are? So we made these stickers for teachers to put in certain, wherever it's convenient for them to have that little visual reminder of reflective work, thinking about what you're doing and how are you impacting the lives around you. And then what we did also, we know that Harper Woods has changed from the time when I was hired years ago. We've gone through a swift demographic shift, and we want to make sure that everyone in our building feels welcome and included. And so a lot of times people begin to judge just based on a look or based on just a snap decision. And so an activity that I had been doing in my classroom for years is called People Paint Chips. And so we decided to incorporate this in our teacher training as well, because we've seen more diversity in our teaching staff, just like we've seen more diversity in our student body. And so People Paint Chips is something I came up with where you put a piece of, I didn't bring my stuff. Yeah, I did. I have some, we talk about, you make snap decisions based on who someone is. And, when we look at Mrs. Tyson, she's a white lady. Well, yeah, I understand that. That's true. But I'm telling you what, I'm not that.
She's blonde.
Right? I'm blonde. And she's blonde, so look out. Those blonde jokes are going to start flying. But nobody is white, okay? And nobody is red, and nobody is yellow, and nobody is black, okay? We're all shades of brown. And we need to accept each other and celebrate the fact that there's diversity in our world. And so in order to do that, I put a paper plate with a blob of red paint, yellow paint, white paint, and black paint. Did any of you guys do this in your class? We're going to have to come back and do that again. But basically what we do is we have the kids take a 3x5 card, and you cut a hole in it, you lay it over your hand, somebody put it in the shape of a heart, and you're going to try and mix your own individual skin tone color. And it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks, isn't it, Mr. Henry? Right?
Yes, it is.
Because we did it together as a staff. We can look at the next picture. And we did that, and you start to weigh in, oh honey, you need just a little bit more pink in there, so just give it a little more paint color, or whatever that color is, and you're helping each other. It kind of looks like a mess as you're going through it, but you're trying to absolutely replicate your skin color, and you're helping somebody else by giving them feedback, and you're having very positive, proactive conversations about what can sometimes be a little bit of a stressor, a little bit of a tense point between people. And then, not only do we do it as our staff, we also do it with our students. If you can go to the next slide, you'll see that we had some of our students doing it. And high energy, excitement, fun, low stress, very enjoyable. We had it with our 7th graders and our 8th graders. The next step is after you let it dry, you cut that little piece of color out and you make your paint chip, but you have to come up with a name. You know that paint companies make a lot of money on marketing. You don't just buy white for your walls or ecru or cream. You buy all these fancy terms. So we encourage the students, we encourage the staff to come up with the names for their own individual skin tone. And so we ask the question, what hue are you? And you have to come up with a name. And so we have some here that the students came up with: double fudge chocolate brownie. We had a student, Tangerine Goodness. We had teddy bear brown, soft peach, buff brown, Mexicana Bonita, Mocha Wonder, European chocolate, and then there was a really good one here, Skin of a Goddess. And Mr. Henry, what was yours?
Buffalo fur.
Buffalo fur. All right, all right. So, we had winter white, we had, peaches and cream, but those are the kinds of responses we have, was just the laughter of, and being able to have those kinds of collaborative conversations. So that's sort of the point of all of this, is that we really accept each other for who we are, and we work together to move people forward. And so that was an exciting facet that we brought to our initiative, our African American Young Men of Promise. We're continuing with this. It's a 3-year pilot program, and very excited to see where we've come and where we're headed next. Are there any questions? And if the board wants to do this activity, I'd be happy to bring my little paper plates and little blobs. All right.
Mr. Sullivan, if I could, I'd like to make just a couple of further brief remarks.
Okay, I got a couple of things to add to the comments.
To this, you first or me, sir? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Thank you, Mr. Clover. So just a couple of other remarks that I think are important. We've compared ourselves a lot tonight to what it is that's going on across the state. And I am very excited that in terms of the performance of our African American students when compared to the state, we are at 139%. So we're plus 39% in terms of what is the performance that's typically seen across the state. I've said to the board recently, here are a list of school districts that we are now outperforming. I've got another one that you can add to the list. Our meet performance has now surpassed the performance level of Southfield schools as well. And I'm pretty excited about that. But I also want to make this point because I think that it is also a very important point. Our middle school staff just talked about diversity. And I want to remind the community that we are a diverse school district. We serve and we welcome all students. And today, the majority of our students are predominantly African American and or predominantly economically disadvantaged. That can change at any point in time. And so we have to maintain the ability to serve all students well. It is a good thing in some ways that our non-African American students are outperforming our African American students. And the data still tells us here that that achievement gap still exists. It is a good thing that, we have students who are performing at a high level. But it isn't a good thing that that gap still exists. And so I go back and I again talk about that concept of leadership and expecting the best. Why shouldn't you be one of the highest performing students in this district? And why shouldn't you be there too? And how come you aren't carrying the 3-5? Come on, big dog, step up. I want more. I want more. We need your leadership. We need it in the halls. We need it in the community. And your family is going to need it as well. We have got work to do. Work to do. And we need you to be about that work. Harperwood Schools is open for business. We serve kids. Bring them in. We serve them well. See you in the hallways. Thanks for staying with us, guys. Folks, we appreciate you staying with us. I know it's getting... Pardon me, Mr. Sullivan. Excuse me.
Don't leave. I told you I had a...
I apologize, sir.
I do have a question for you, Mr. Beerwolf.
Go ahead.
Before I talk to these young men here. This program, this African American Young Men of Promise that Ms. Tyson and Mr. Filbert have introduced to us, the benefits of this program are not restricted to African-American students, are they?
No, absolutely not. And again, that's kind of, I too am somewhat uncomfortable with that to a certain extent. No, we're serving all kids. And I'll go back to Mrs. Quaker's question or comment earlier. You know, she asked, you know, Mr. Viderwolf, is the SIG positively impacting other kids in other grades? Answer, yes. Is this initiative positively impacting other kids in other grades? Answer, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I was just going to say, they brought that up as part of our pilot training too, that whatever is good, it's good for all students, the work that we're doing. But we're definitely doing it through that particular focus.
It's just a name.
It's a name and a focus.
Okay.
Worthwhile.
Mr. Beerwolf, a few minutes ago, you challenged these young men, our varsity basketball team, all of whom, except for one, will probably be returning next year. Which tells me that next year, some of them will be seniors next year, probably a good number of them. They'll be applying to colleges. And you commented on the GPAs that were read off, and you challenged them to improve those GPAs. How many of you guys are on Twitter?
Well, there's some that aren't.
Some that aren't, I'm shocked.
Well, what are you on, though? We're all on something. What's the thing to
Okay. Are you guys familiar with the term trending? Yeah. Okay, you all know what trending is, right? Okay. Well, let me tell you something. There's another concept of trending, and that has to do with college applications. Because I've talked to a lot of college admissions officers, and one of the things they look at is what's called trending. They look at your grades, and they want to see if your GPA is improving from year to year to year, or is it getting worse, or is it just staying flat? And when you can come in and you can say, you know, I came in as a 9th grader and I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. But now I'm a senior and I got it together. And you got a better GPA now as a senior than you did as a freshman. That has an impact on admission counselors. That's what they call trending. And they look for that. So Mr. Biederwolf has challenged all of you for a better GPA. Now I challenged him and he turned to me and he said, I can do that. I think when he stood up there and challenged you, he was waiting to hear from each one of you to say, I can do that. I didn't hear anything. Just silent. You all sat there with, so tell him.
I can do it. I like it. I believe you can as well. So do your parents, so do your teachers, so do your principals, and it's just said, so does this board. We got work to do, fellas, and we need you to be part of that work.
And I got one more question. Does anybody else except this young man get to put their hands on that trophy? He's clutching it like this. Okay, thanks, guys.
Good job, guys.
Thanks for coming, man. Congratulations. Thanks, Coach.
Okay, that brings us to item 10 on our agenda, which is public participation regarding action items. If any member of the public wishes to address us on action items, please step to the podium and please do so. There'll be another opportunity later in the meeting to address the board regarding general items. All right, seeing no one. That brings us to those action items, the first of which is the auditor selection contract extension. And that is on page 66 of your packet. We have a recommended motion that the Board of Education approves the extension of the auditor's contract for auditing services provided through Raymond Robson for the fiscal year ending 2014. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have support?
Support.
You want to explain this, either Mr. Biederwolf or Mr. Dennis?
I would defer to Mr. Dennis.
Sure, thanks. As I addressed to you guys at the workshop meeting, it was my recommendation initially that we continue working with Raymond Robson. They've been with the district, they've completed their 4th year. This will be their 5th year since you guys approved them. They have maintained the $15,000 fee the last 3 years. I tried my darndest to keep it at that, but it's hard. They did request a $500 increase, and frankly, for the first increase over 4 years, I don't think that's much, really we can quibble that much. They're a very professional firm. I thought they did a very thorough job, very easy to work with, came in, did their job, gave us the work papers and everything that we needed. They've helped me with quite a bit of stuff in filing with the states, and again, I would recommend that we continue the relationship at least for the coming year.
Anybody have any questions or comments? We did go over this in some depth at our workshop. Hearing none, all right, we'll vote on the motion. All in favor of approving Raymond Robson for the, actually be the current year.
That is correct,
For
sir.
the current year.
Yes.
As the auditor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion is approved, 5-0. That takes us to the next item, 11.2, which is a recommendation for the extension of the business manager contract, and that begins on page 81. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education authorizes EduStaff to extend the contracted service of business manager, Mr. James Dennis, to include the 2014-15 and 2015-16 school years. And that would include a compensation increase for the first year of that extension at 6.95%. The second year of that extension would be at 2.6%. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have support?
Support.
Mr. Beerwolf?
As I have indicated to the board, I have been very pleased with the work that Mr. Dennis has done. We've talked previously that he's been with us now for just over 2 years, or coming up on about a year and a half. We've talked about the fact that he has been very experienced, in the business capacity, but he had not worked previously in schools. And, we had some trepidation about that. He's just simply established himself as a quick learner, very dedicated to his responsibilities, and as our most recently concluded audit would reflect, highly competent as well. I think he's doing a great job, and that's why I bring forward this recommendation.
I got a question for you, Mr. Beerwolf. I believe that Mr. Dennis has implemented a number of initiatives in the district.
Yes.
Some having to do with energy conservation, as well as other matters. If you could just touch on those.
Yeah, again, one of the areas where, frankly, his performance in that aspect of his job responsibilities, in my opinion, supersedes that of his predecessors. And he's taken this initiative on. He's introduced some new processes. There's this liquid film that now is over the water in the pool, and so there's energy conservation there. Kind of to replicate the concept of a timed thermostat in our homes, although our heating system in Beacon is fairly seasoned, if you will. There's been new additions implemented, new systems installed that I'll call as kind of analogous to a timed thermostat in our home. So the building goes down cooler in the evenings, and all of this is occurring automatically on a timed program basis, and we're installing similar systems at Tyrone as well. Yes, I like his leadership in those areas.
I think we've had some lighting.
We have replaced some lights in some gymnasiums and other spaces as well, yes, sir.
The fixtures, so we're using a more energy efficient type of lighting source.
Yes.
Okay. He didn't give us that $500 though on that.
No, I thought about that too. I tried, I'm telling you, I tried.
And I know he dogs these people. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion to extend the contract, including raises for Mr. Dennis, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion is approved, 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you very much, you guys. I truly appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
That brings us to 11.3. which is entitled Summer School Compensation. A little murky. We do have a recommended motion that the Board of Education approves the summer school compensation for certified instructional staff as $29 per hour. Employment in this capacity does not include benefits. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Support?
Support.
Again, Mr. Beowulf, I think you need to just explain this a little bit to us. We did have a discussion a couple weeks ago, but
Yes, I have surveyed some surrounding districts, and, I'd really like to certainly recognize principal leadership in this initiative. One of the responsibilities principals have is recruiting staff for summer school. And, they've indicated that they've had some challenges. In fact, I've been told that we've had some teachers who have chosen to teach summer school elsewhere because the compensation was better. This recommendation is for $29 an hour. Some districts pay up to $36 an hour. And, again, I think it's an important representation of partnership. Our HWEA president, Ms. Sarah Brown, is here tonight. I'm recommending, this increase in compensation, but I've also been very clear with staff that, I'm recommending that the compensation be increased, assuming that the board supports this. You will have supported that recommendation, and therefore our teachers. And I tell you what I want in exchange for that. I want our own highly qualified, well-trained Harper Woods staff members in our classrooms in summer school. And so that's kind of the deal that I'm trying to leverage, and that's what I expect the outcome to be.
I got a question, Mr. Beowulf.
Go ahead.
Bottom line, what will this cost the district in total?
About $10,000.
We would have to, at our next budget amendment, probably amend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Although this would actually spread across two different budgets.
Also true.
In fact, mostly it would be in next year's budget.
Also true.
Mr. Beadle, we do pay a lot of that out of the average.
I was going to ask if any of this is paid out of grant money.
It certainly is. A variety of them, in fact.
That's one of the dances that a business manager has to perform.
Indeed.
We used to call it, well, I won't use that term.
Is this an
Discretion is the better.
increase, Asher?
Yes, miss.
Okay, very much.
It was $24 previously.
Okay.
It's been at that rate for some time. So, as some other things are adjusted in the contract, the summer school compensation has not necessarily followed those adjustments.
And where does this put us in terms of comparative districts?
Median.
Median or medium?
Median, which is at about the middle.
Which is the median.
Well, academic language.
So not an academic.
You're estimating a $10,000 expense?
Yes, sir.
That's the difference?
I believe so.
2,000 hours?
Well, remember that there's the additional MIPSERS cost that's associated with this, but that's a third.
Right.
So roll it back to 1,500 or 1,600 hours, yes.
Yes, from July 7th to August 8th.
Yeah, and remember, that's over a number of staff members, obviously.
Oh, no, I
We're
assume that, but it just seems like a lot.
Yeah, I think it is about 100 hours a staff member, about 15 of them, so I think your estimates are accurate.
And you're perhaps going to get better participation because of this.
That's, if not, frankly, this issue is silent in the contract, if you will. So, I've been very clear about that. We need more of our staff directly teaching in our summer school program. That is the outcome that this is intended to generate. If it doesn't, we'll revisit it.
Okay. All right, anybody else? All in favor of the motion to increase the summer school compensation for certified instructional staff to $29 per hour, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion is approved 5-0. That brings us to the next item, 11.4. You have a mini packet here in front of you that was provided this evening. That's where the amendment to the agenda came into play. This is creation of an at-risk paraprofessional position, and the recommended motion is that the Board of Education approves the creation of an additional at-risk paraprofessional for staffing at Tyrone Elementary due to increases in enrollment among students receiving at-risk services. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
Do we have support?
Support.
You want to explain that for us, Mr. Biederwald?
So this position, as indicated, would be funded via our categorical funding of at-risk. So the board will remember, dating back to last summer, the concept of the school accountability report cards and the importance of the performance of, and it's, again, it's an uncomfortable term, but those students who are performing at the bottom 30% level. And so, kind of linking it a little bit to the recommended candidate to follow, the candidate that we're really excited about is a certified teacher, certified in both English and mathematics. And so this, again, would be investment in our kids with the expectation that it will continue to move student achievement outcomes.
This is a new position.
This is a new position.
We have other paraprofessionals, but this is in particular just a new paraprofessional.
Exactly correct.
Which is why the board needs to approve the position itself.
Currently, we do not have the authorization to add this staffing.
If our special ed student need should increase, will this, I know we haven't gotten to the next step, but the staff member that is being recommended, would that satisfy that requirement?
It would not.
It would not. Anybody else have any questions? All in favor of the motion that the Board of Education approves the creation of a new position for an additional at-risk paraprofessional for a Tyrone Elementary, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion is approved 5-0. That brings us to 11.5. Again, that's in the mini packet that was at your seat this evening. Begins on page 84, numbered in that packet. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education approves the new hire of Alana Yoon as the at-risk paraprofessional at Tyrone Elementary. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion.
We have support?
Support.
Mr. Biederwald, we kind of touched on this, but why don't you just go into a little more depth on this?
Again, this is a recommendation that comes to us from Principal Vanderlinden at Tyrone. This individual, I believe, has been in the building in some instances as a sub, so we've gotten a chance to see her in action. And frankly, to have the ability to have a certified teacher in this position at this level of compensation, it's a bargain.
Yeah, she subbed for Pat Shore when Pat Shore was on medical.
Okay.
We brought her in because she was math certified. She did a great job. Then Mrs. Rutzlaw went out for surgery, and we needed to have somebody for the special ed parapro, and she liked the building so much. She said, I'll move to the parapro for special ed while she's on her medical leave. And, so she's been in our building doing that. She has a real knack for this in math. She's really good.
Is this a full-time position?
It'll be the same full-time position, yeah, that the other parapros are receiving.
About 36 hours a week with no benefits.
It's a full week.
It's
Yes.
absolutely.
Full school day.
Yes.
5 days a week.
Yes.
I will tell you, one of the things that we have been doing, with this new math, it's hard if our subs that come in are not familiar with the math. They have such a difficult time teaching it that we can't really assign a lesson. So if we know in advance, we are then having Elena come in also, and she is teaching that lesson, so we are not falling behind like we were, because every time there was a sub, the grade level kind of is trying to stay on the same page, we'd all have to stop, and we'd have to just give them busy work or review work or something the sub could handle until the teacher was back. So she pushes in, and she's doing a lot of those teaching them, working with the small groups, and she's good. We like her.
sounds like a high recommendation.
She's very good, yes.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
And again, fully paid out of that risk, so it's...
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion that the Board of Education approves the new hire of Alana Yoon as the at-risk paraprofessional at Tyrone Elementary, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion is approved, 5-0. And that brings us to board items, subcommittee reports. Does any committee chair wish to address the board regarding their respective committee? I'll just remind those members of the policy committee that we're scheduled to meet 1 week from tonight on the 25th at 6 p.m. right here. Any other chairs have anything to add? Hearing none, moving along to the report of the superintendent, Mr. Biederwolf.
I would again just simply express my appreciation to our students for their hard work and the success that they're having with their academic performance. As well, again, express my appreciation for the support that our families are offering. We do our best work when we work as a team. And finally, to our teachers and to our building-based administrators, other staff members across the district, it's a big step in the right direction. We're not done, but it is a big step in the right direction. So thank you for your efforts.
And that brings us to 14.0, public participation. If any member of the public wishes to address the board, please step to the podium. Please do so. Seeing none, that brings us to 15.0, matters of interest to board members. Any member of the board have anything that they would like to bring to our attention?
I took a flyer to the other schools because an expert is coming into the library. I assume you've seen it at Tyrone. And I also took one to Beacon. Hopefully, some people will show up because it's an expert in reading and going to talk to parents about getting their children to read. And it kind of falls in with what you're doing right here.
And this may be
But
small.
it's tomorrow night, so it's not really giving anybody a chance. But the other thing that's going on at the library, we're reading the book that is Michigan Reads, Annie's Ghost. It is set in Detroit, Michigan area. It takes in Mayberry Sanitarium and quite a few other things, and it's work with the mentally ill. But Annie's Ghost is a ghost figure in that the sister of Annie never told her own children that she had a sister. She said she was an only child. So the author goes out to find this person, and it's really interesting. And if you want to be part of this, the library had extra books and was passing them out to people who wanted to read them. And the author of the book will Skype on second Wednesday of the month, except it's during school time. We meet about 1:30, but the author will answer questions for anybody who reads this book and has further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vanderlyn, it's really good to see that your school is taking an initiative to move forward with having the conferences scheduled online, because I found notes all over everywhere. And I think it's a good direction and moving, forward, even for some of the teachers, if they even want to utilize that system for progress notes and things, because it's much easier for a lot of parents to check it online and more efficient and less paper for all of us.
We are a clean school now.
Yes, so thank you for that. Like I said, it sounds small,
I'll let you
but
know
it's a
how it goes,
lifesaver.
but I think it's just, you take the middleman out. Parents will sign up directly for what works for them.
Absolutely.
And they can always go check if they forget.
Exactly.
They don't have to keep calling.
Anyone else? Mr. Beowulf, it's very frustrating when we come in here for these meetings and our sound system doesn't work, our projection system doesn't work. It's happened a number of times. We need to get it fixed. I mean, fixed. I've had complaints from people that watch the broadcast that they can't hear. And tonight, they'll probably be, in the next week or two, they'll probably be complaining to me again. No. Mr. Gray's shaking his head no.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I get complaints from people. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is I understand that we have something on our website, I'll call it a button, which is a communication device where anybody can go on the website, they push this button, it's right on the front page of the website, the home page, and it offers them an opportunity to communicate directly with the district. If they have a question, a comment, a compliment, a complaint, anything.
Yes, sir. And we've had some people beginning to use it.
Okay. I think you were going to put it on a pin.
I will, sir. Maybe we even get it out tomorrow, because I'm kind of interested in this reading program that Mrs. Menino spoke to. So I'm going to see if I can't work to support that effort.
Okay. And again, congratulations to you, Mr. Beetewolf, to our administrators, to our teachers, and to our students for the meet results. Congratulations to the basketball team. I think we brought home some other hardware. I don't know if anybody talked about that. We brought home some band hardware.
Yeah, indeed we did. I think it was 2 weeks ago, our middle school band participated in their adjudicated festival and came home with a top rating, Division I. And last weekend, our high school band participated in that same process and came home with the Division II rating. So yes, both bands performed very well.
So congratulations to them as well. And that's all I have. Anybody else? Okay, we're adjourned.